then Tony Spilotro brings this guy out.
Where they rolled out Herbie Blitzstein's body on a gurney. I'm here with the person who lives here now.
I heard some voices in the back.
Welcome to a realm where history and crime converge. True crime meets expert insight. It's not what you know, it's who you know. Reporting live from Las Vegas. Join us as we explore America's criminal past, where documentaries and insightful shorts provide a detailed description of mafia history, organized crime figures, and police corruption, where the law intertwines with the lawless. I'm your host, Tony Handsome, a retired NYPD anti-crime police officer and mafia historian. This is Corruption Connection. What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Corruption Connection. I'm your host, Tony Handsome. I'm in front of 4675 Balfour Drive at the corner of East Desmond Avenue. This was the home of the famous, notorious hitman and Las Vegas kingpin, Chicago outfit soldier, Anthony Tony Spilotro. I'm joined today by famed Mafia Detective, retired organized crime, Kansas City detective, Gary Jenkins.
Hey, Tony.
How you doing, Gary?
How you doing?
Welcome into
What's
Corruption
up?
Connection, man.
Forget about it.
Yeah, forget about it. Kansas City and New York City, right here.
Here we are.
So we're in front of Tony Spilotro's house,
Yeah.
man. The infamous. I don't know if this was featured in the movie Casino, but obviously he was made famous during the movie Casino '95. Nicky Santoro was played by Joe Pesci. It gave a really pretty accurate description of what Tony Spilotro was like. What do you think, Gary?
Oh, he did. I think he was right. He was like right on everything I know about the real Tony Spilotro. He was that short, little man complex, brash dude that liked to order people around and was deadly. He was deadly.
But there's a rumor actually in one of the casinos that Joe Pesci walked in and one of the pit bosses fainted because he actually thought it was Tony Spilotro reincarnated coming back from the dead. Yeah, so we don't want to get too close because people actually live there, but we'll take the phone a little bit closer so you guys can actually check it out. So this is the house of Tony Spilotro as we get close, 4675 Balfour Drive. I'm here with legendary Mafia Detective Gary Jenkins. So, Gary, what do you know about Spilotro and Rosenthal and their whole scheme at the Stardust and all that?
Well, you know, the thing the movie didn't get right, they claimed that this house was on a golf course and they could go from the back door to the back door, to Lefty's house, to Tony's house.
Right.
Or Nicky's to, well, I can't even remember his name, Sam's house.
Right.
But this is a typical kind of a house here. And, you know, when I look at this house, I think about the time when there was the policeman out here in Las Vegas. When we being a copper, I always think about the policeman. These guys worked intelligence unit, and they shot and killed a kid from Chicago named Frankie Blitzstein, thinking he had a gun. And it turned out he had a gun. They claim he did, but in the movie it showed that scene. But he had a sandwich in his hand in the movie. But he did have a gun. They traced that gun back to a relative of his back in Chicago. Anyhow, after that, supposedly Tony Spilotro put out a contract on these policemen now, Gene Smith and I can't remember, Dave Gruber. The commander down there sent a message to Chicago and said, you know, you better lift this contract. And during that time, somebody drove by this house and fired double-aught buck, which is the roundup preference for any policeman, fired a roundup double-aught buck into the side of his car sitting out here in front of the house. So I have to think about those coppers late at night said, you know, we're going to send another message here, drive down the street, bam, and take off. So a lot of interesting stuff went on around this town. You know, Las Vegas is such a small town in many ways. You know, he could be over to Stardust in about 5 minutes. He could be over to with jewelry store, the Gold Coast, and then had about the Gold Rush. The Gold Rush and Colby, right? And so it's, you know, and there's just a lot of stuff that happened on these streets. They just reek of mafia history.
Definitely, without a doubt. And I mean, speaking of that, like you said, everything being so close, we're not on a golf course. This is still a pretty nice neighborhood. And I'm guessing back in, you know, the 70s, this was top notch, you know, especially for someone like Tony Spilotro or even Lefty Rosenthal, who lives about 5 minutes, I believe, from here. On our next stop, we're actually going to go visit one of Spilotro's crew members, Herbie Blitzstein. He actually was rubbed out in '97, January '97. He was one of the last surviving crew members of Spilotro's crew, and he was supposedly rubbed out by the LA and Buffalo mob. So we're gonna take a trip over there, where Gary and myself are going to hop in the car and go from Spilotro's house to Blitzstein's residence house. Stay tuned. Hey everyone, if you're enjoying this video, please click the like button below and make sure to subscribe to the channel. If you would like to support the channel further, please hit the super thanks icon, which can be found below each video or in the comment section below. If anyone is interested in becoming a connected member, click the join button to gain access to rare pictures of organized crime figures, untold stories, and exclusive behind the scenes footage. Thank you. Now let's get back to Corruption Connection. Hey, what's up, everybody? Tony and Gary here again. We're actually going to be heading to our next stop, Herbie Blitzstein's house. Blitzstein was a Spilotro crew member, one of the last Spilotro crew members, surviving Spilotro crew members, to get away from the whole hole-in-the-wall gang at his residence, where we're heading right now. It's about a 5-minute, 6-minute drive from Spilotro's house. What do you know about Blitzstein, Gary?
Well, he was a Chicago boy brought out here by Tony, I think, to supplement his hole-in-the-wall gang. And he also had some other, he was like kind of more of a guy who can handle loan sharking and numbers and gambling and more sophisticated kind of stuff, rather than just a lot of these guys in the hole-in-the-wall gang were break-in guys. They were
Right.
let's kick in the door, let's tunnel through the wall.
Right, yeah, Blitzstein was more of a racketeer.
Right.
He had a lot of rackets out here. I mean, his loan sharking business bookmaking operation was through the roof. He was an excellent businessman. I think that's why they killed him, because they wanted his rackets.
Oh yeah, I think no doubt about it. What's kind of interesting about that is at one time when Tony was alive, nobody could have killed him. They wouldn't have dared.
Right.
But what this says that somebody did kill him with Tony gone was that Chicago had lost all their power.
Right.
All the bosses were in Kansas City being tried for skimming from Las Vegas casinos, and that's how really weak they got, that they can protect one of their guys out here in Las Vegas.
Right, they had no more protection. Correct. Yeah. No, I know. Like, once the government hammer comes down, everybody goes scurrying, you know what I mean? And they have no more protection. They don't know who to run to. And that's when the vultures come out, They see all the scraps and they grab whatever they can, And I think that's when the LA mob and the Buffalo mob supposedly, teamed up together in order to, kind of like take a power move against the Chicago outfit, So we're rolling up on Herbie Blitzstein's house here at 3655 Mount Vernon Avenue here in Las Vegas. This is actually where Blitzstein would be rubbed out by members of the LA and Buffalo Mafia. Two hitmen known to be Mafia associates, Antonio Davey and Richard Freeman, were actually charged with the murder and received up to 25 years, I believe. Antonio got out in 2015, and I believe Richard Freeman got out a little later. This neighborhood right here, guys, does this look familiar to you in any of the news footage?
I don't remember. Kind of interesting houses, the way they're kind of like townhomes. They're all connected.
Right.
And probably reasonably priced, especially back then. Probably not so much now, but they're cute little homes.
What's up, everybody? We're in front of 3655 Mount Vernon Avenue, the place where Herbie Blitzstein, Fat Herb Blitzstein, was assassinated. He was a member of the Spilotro crew, like you said, the hole-in-the-wall gang. He had a couple rackets out here, huge bookmaking and loan sharking operation, which attracted the attention of the LA and the Buffalo Mafia. You're familiar with the story, right, Gary?
Yeah, a little bit. It came along after, I was all involved in the skim, and Tony Spilotro brings this guy out and to help with the rackets because he's more sophisticated.
Right, he's from Chicago.
And from Chicago, and so I just thinking about, that he was getting a piece of that action, that loan shark action, because that's how it works.
Right.
And he didn't really take him along on those scores that the hole-in-the-wall gang did. He had his own scores he was making with loan sharking and bookmaking and all that.
Right, and he was really valuable to the Spilotro crew because he was a known jewel thief or whatever. And as you know, the Spilotro crew, as you mentioned before, had the gold rush, the jewelry store, so it kind of came in handy. We two kind of watched each other's hands, I want to give you guys a little bit of a close-up tour of the house. The people know that we're actually here. So this was the house right here. And as you could see in the news reports, same entrance. I'm not exactly sure where the angle was, but it was probably somewhere here where they rolled out Herbie Blitzstein's body on a gurney to the waiting ambulance. He was shot multiple times, like I mentioned before, by Antonio Davey and Richard Freeman. It happened on January 6, 1997, so this Blitzstein might be the actual last mob hit taken out in Las Vegas. So Gary and I are here in front of 3655 where Herbie Blitzstein was rubbed out, as we had mentioned. And we actually ran into some people that lived here, and they had an interesting story. I'll let Gary tell it for us.
Well, these two dudes come out to smoke a cigarette. And so we say, hey, we're going to film this house. And you know what happened here? And they said, well, we heard somebody got killed in there. We said, well, yeah, I'm this guy named Fat Herbie Blitzstein was a mob hit, last mob hit in Las Vegas, was killed right here in this house. And one guy said, he said, that's funny. He said, here's some funny stuff around this house. And one time he said, I heard this real deep voice calling out my name. He said, I was freaked out. So who knows? Maybe the ghost of Herbie Blitzstein is in this house.
Very possible the ghost of Herbie Blitzstein is in this house right here. All right, so I'm in front of 3655 Mount Vernon Avenue where Herbie Blitzstein was rubbed out by the Mafia, the LA and Buffalo Mafia working in unison to take over his rackets. I'm here with the person who lives here now. What's your name, man?
Zach.
Zach, how you doing, Zach?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
So you were telling me a story before when I walked up and told you I was filming. What were you telling me?
I was telling you that I heard some voices in the back. I was smoking a cigarette, and I heard somebody call my name out. That's like Mel's voice. So Zach. It was like, looked around, I could have sworn. I thought it was somebody in the back, but nobody over here was home.
So where do you think the voice came from?
I think that came from like where near the pool area. I think that's where he got shot. Near the pool area. There's some bullet. I think there's some bullet holes in that pool area.
There's bullet holes in the pool area? Can you see them?
Not anymore. This my dog went over.
Oh, he tore the whole backyard up.
Clean it up and maybe like him.
So what did you hear anything else or anything related to the homicide that you think is maybe the ghost of Herbie Blitzstein?
I feel like somebody's watching me at night.
Really?
Yeah. And when I was carrying my niece around, she was sometimes she'll point and look, and she'll get scared.
Really?
And so definitely some activity going on.
Without a doubt, man. Well, yo, man, listen, thanks for your time, bro. I appreciate it. 3655. On to our next stop, 620 East Sahara, the famous site of the Lefty Rosenthal car bombing. Gary, I know you've come to Las Vegas before and you've done a couple videos on the actual site.
Yeah.
I hear the plate under the seat was a myth. What you hear about that?
Yeah, I think it, I don't think there really was a plate that saved him. It looked to me like, and reading the description, is it started to go and he bailed out. It like didn't just one huge explosion like it showed in the movie. If you look at some of that footage, it's like there was enough left that he sensed something was going on and he bailed out.
I think so as well. I mean, recently, yeah, there's been some new investigation into it that the plate under the car was a myth, but we'll see. So we're gonna be heading to our next stop, 620 East Sahara Avenue. All right, everyone, we're pulling up on East Sahara, 620 East Sahara, which is the location of the Tony Roma's where Lefty Rosenthal's car was blown up. As you can see, we're pulling into the parking lot right now. This was the famous location right here. And I really don't believe that he knew about the steel plate under the car like you were saying, Gary. I think that it's a little too far-fetched.
Yeah, another kind of interesting story about this. I talked to a lady who was in my documentary, Gangland Wire, Lynn Capovisa. Lynn knew Lefty really well. She loved Lefty. She thought he was the greatest thing since sliced bread. He'd really taken care of her there at the casino. And she was in Tony Roma's when this happened. And she walked out. She saw Lefty leaving, and she walked out and saw who it was. And she told me, she said, oh my, these people are serious. He should have known something was going to happen to him. He was the only guy that had not been really investigated. Nobody even gone out and interviewed him from the Bureau, as far as I know. He was not indicted, not called as a witness to the grand jury. There was just like nothing. He's like the only man standing while everybody else is getting ready to go to jail.
Right. And I really think that it's up for debate, but there really has been some files and some FBI documents that would be something that said he might have been in a film at this whole time.
Yeah, they say that his code name was Achilles. That
Right.
Jane Ann Morrison of the level that Van said she got an unnamed FBI agent to verify that he had been a top echelon informant all that time. Myself, I talked to an FBI agent who worked that case, and he wouldn't verify it, but he did say we had a pretty good source inside the Stardust, and we had to fly to Hawaii to interview him and then fly back. He was so afraid somebody'd see us with him. Now, that sounds like a Lefty Rosenthal deal. Get him a free trip to Hawaii.
Very possible. Knowing him or whatever, he probably killed two birds with one stone with that one, right? All right, everyone. So here we are, 620 East Sahara, right in the exact location where the old Tony Run was, where Lefty Rosenthal survived his car bomb. Supposedly the location was right here. He was in charge of the Chicago outfit skim at the Stardust. This is definitely the location right here. What do you think, Gary?
I think so. Every image I've seen of her video was with this post right here. This light post was there back then. And then the front of that building is Tony Roma's. So I think he was parked like right in front of this, maybe. You know, a mob guy didn't park too far from the front door.
Yeah, he probably had VIP going right in. Gary, in front of the old Tony Roma's, you might be standing in the exact spot that Frank Lefty Rosenthal got blown up in, my friend. Your shirt's on fire, Gary. Okay, so Gary and I have made it to our final destination on this mob tour. We are on West Sahara in front of the famous Golden Steer Steakhouse, where members of the Hole in Wall gang, including Tony Spilotro, Frank Collada, Herbie Blitzstein, and other members would come and discuss their criminal activities. Right next door, where you see the Ahern Hotel, was where the famous gold rush was located. Spilotro's jewelry store and headquarters for the Hole in the Wall gang. In the distance, you could see Circus Circus, where Spilotro had his other store, Anthony Stewart's, which was right next to what is now the Resorts World and was the location of the former Stardust Hotel, base of operation for the Chicago outfit skimming operation. Gary, you know a little something about Spilotro's jewelry store inside Circus Circus, huh?
Well, a little bit. You know, he named it. His wife's maiden name was Stewart, and his name's Anthony, so that's why they named it. It was like a gift that the mob kind of see. It was kind of mobbed up. Jay Sarno owned the Circus Circus, and he got a loan from the Teamsters, big loan, Alan Dortmund from the Teamsters to make it bigger, and so this was part of the deal. I think that he let Tony Spilotro have this jewelry store, gift shop inside the casino, because that would be talk about like you just could print money because there's so many people coming to Circus Circus. But then when the feds found out about it and and the local guys figured out who Anthony Spilotro was, they put pressure on the Circus Circus and the gaming commission, and he was not allowed to continue to operate that gift shop inside the store and move over to the Gold Rush to his other place over here.
Which eventually led to him being placed in the Black Book, I believe, right?
Yeah.
All right, everyone, so that's going to wrap up our Vegas History Mob Tour with the legendary Gary Jenkins. We're here in front of a Golden Steer Steakhouse. We're going to wind up getting a steak in a little bit, Gary and I. Really appreciate everybody for tuning in. Thanks again, Gary. Really appreciate you coming out. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. Till next time, I'm your old Sonny Hansen with the famous Gary Jenkins, and this is Corruption Connection.